Hey guys, welcome back to Art Theories. This week, I'm joined by my partner Silva. We are going to be talking about whether you should apply to art school. We're going to talk about what you learn on a fine art course, the kind of person who's suited to studying fine art, will you get a job afterwards, and the pros and cons of going to art school. I love a pros and cons list. Silva studied at the Royal Academy of the Arts in the Netherlands, and I studied at the University of Falmouth. We both did fine art, and we both have unique perspectives on this topic. So if you're thinking about studying a creative course or fine art, then this video is for you and should hopefully help you make an informed decision.
So what do you actually learn on a fine art course? So the first thing that we noted is obviously that you widen your understanding of art in general. Would you agree?
I completely agree. When I first arrived at art school, I kind of thought that painting was art, and then the more realistic the painting, the better.
Yeah.
But art school was really good for me because it introduced me to loads of contemporary artists who work in different ways, kind of opened up my mind to all the different things that art can be.
Yeah, definitely. For me, yeah, 100%. It definitely widened my understanding of art. Also because I didn't come from a background of art in terms of like, I didn't do GCSE art, I didn't do A-level art. And yeah, massively widened my understanding of art because I had no theories, no practice, no technical skill that I had been developing over the course of a GCSE and A-level. So yeah, definitely massively widened my understanding of art. You also learn about different processes.
Yeah, very good point. So like I said just a moment ago, when I arrived at art school, I was all about painting and I thought realistic painting was the best. But throughout art school, I was introduced to printmaking, I was introduced to woodwork, I was introduced to video editing, I was introduced to all these different types of creativity. I really appreciated the fact that they taught me loads of different ways of making stuff.
Yeah. In my art school, it was just the first year that we were actually given specific lessons in processes, whether that was like drawing class, painting class, sculpture class. We had something called conceptualization, which was like a lesson to understand how to create concept. None of it felt very guided. It felt very like you almost had to know before having done this first year, even though it was the first year of a BA. I was exposed to different, like you, we were also doing like different printmaking skills. We were doing like a variety of different things in terms of like, we were being shown these different processes. However, as the years went on, we weren't given specific lessons. It was more that like, if you had a project in mind, you would then either go, say it was a project to do with wood, you needed to make something with wood, you would go to the wood workshop, a technician would hopefully be there, you would ask for the technician's time if they had time, because also it's a whole school of students that they're trying to assist, and you would then get kind of told how to make the thing that you're making, and you kind of acquire skills and learning about processes through experience.
I also think maybe my art school did a slightly better job teaching like specific skills, and your art school is more focused on concepts and ideas and like final results, whereas
and pushing boundaries and this
whatever
kind of
that
thing.
means. Yeah. So there was like a different angle there, which is why we have a different opinion.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess like each art school is going to have those differences, aren't they? Like they're going to have specific things that they're going to want to focus on. And this kind of leads us on to the next point,
which is that art school theoretically should teach you how to draw. And I know this one's a bit controversial and people talk about whether drawing is important anymore. And we're not here to say whether drawing is important or isn't, but I was taught how to draw at art school. They put quite a lot of time and effort into teaching us, doing live drawing classes, doing like still life drawing, technical drawing. All of that was really big when I went to art school. Was it big at your art school?
Again, in that first year, we had a class called drawing, and we had two different teachers for that. And with one teacher, we did some still life classes, some life drawing, I think. I remember having a lesson where we were like drawing our classmates. But as the year went on, the drawing class got a little bit more abstract, and I eventually came out with like plaster tiles that I had written things on. So it wasn't drawing anymore. And I felt like I was very much pushed to like go outside the box of drawing. So it didn't feel as traditional or technically skilled. It was really about like pushing what drawing could be and what drawing meant. So we kind of touched upon this a little bit just then, but art school also helps you to think critically.
I completely agree. Thinking critically is one of those things where like people say it, but what does it actually mean? So like to me, thinking critically means being able to tell the difference between a good artwork and a bad artwork, and knowing what makes the artwork good or what makes the artwork not good. But it is also more than that. It's like, it's being able to understand the way that the institutions are shaping the work that we make, or understanding the way that capitalism and colonialism have shaped art history and shaped which artists are successful today. So it's a lot of things, but it's basically having a good understanding of all the factors which lead to our cultural production today. And it is a really important skill. And I would say that I kind of learnt critical thinking from lectures and seminars, but mostly I feel like I learnt critical thinking by making friends with really interesting, intelligent people at art school who could challenge my beliefs and who I could hang out with all day, every day, and have interesting conversations. So it's not necessarily something that the art school teaches you, but it's something you pick up on from being around art school culture.
Yeah, definitely.
Art school should also, in theory, teach you the basics of art history, although it doesn't always do a very good job at this.
Did you have art history throughout the 3 years of your BA?
We had it for year 1 and year 2.
Okay.
And I have to say Falmouth did quite a good job.
Okay.
We had good lecturers.
Okay, that's...
Although I think my lecturer got the sack. But Falmouth was going quite downhill during my time there.
I remember, I think we obviously definitely had art history in the first year. That was the year that you did your exchange. I think we also had it the second year, but the fact that I'm having to like try and really think hard, I think shows how either inconsistent it was or how, I guess, lacking in content it might have been. I don't think it was a very important part, although I think it really should have been, because as I mentioned before, I didn't have an arts education background. And so having those moments of theory or history were very valuable to me. And like, I did want to know more. I don't think the lessons were that well planned out. Also, I noted very early on that it was a Eurocentric art history. It wasn't gonna cover any of like the global South's art history. I was like, where is any of like my own personal, like where's Latin American art history? Where does like African art history? Where's like all these other places art history fit within this global art history that we're supposedly being fed? And it was just very Eurocentric.
Throughout art school, you will also learn how to exhibit your art.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, again, just from my own art school background, we were offered opportunities to exhibit like around the school, and then also as we progressed throughout the years, we also were given opportunities to exhibit outside of the school. I think exhibiting within the school was a nice like trial and error moment. It felt like it wasn't a safe environment because you're still getting critiqued, but it was meant to be like a safe environment to have those first opportunities of exhibition. And it really gave you that feeling and opportunity of, exhibiting your work to classmates, the whole school, tutors. And it was just a good opportunity for you to air that work, see how the audience reacts, getting feedback, sometimes critique, which is hard.
Yeah, and at the end of your degree, you will get a degree show.
Yeah.
Which normally happens in the school. They clear all the studio spaces, turn it into like a white cube style gallery. Public are invited and people from other schools come, and it's a big glamorous moment and it's really fun. Which actually leads on to our last point, which is that during your time at art school, you will develop your own unique practice, which when I say practice, I mean like style of making art, and you will build a portfolio of artworks.
Yeah.
So Silva, what kind of person suits art school?
Anyone who wants to be an artist or a creative or have a career in a creative field. Also, studying for the arts is an expense. Ideally, maybe you've got parents who can support you, or you're in a position to get into debt, because you will get into debt. That's the most typical thing that happens when you go to uni. I'm just going to put it out there, I don't think art school is worth getting into debt for, honestly. I think that we now have access to like tons and tons of courses online and offline, in colleges, in art institutions, in museums. There's workshops. There's so much access to learning and education that is outside of a university, that I feel like if you are someone who is motivated, like if you're a very motivated person who will be able to create structure for themselves, you could easily organize like a bunch of courses that you go into that could be maybe on like photography, life drawing in the evenings, and like curate your own learning environment, I guess. Also, if you wanted to find out more about like, I don't know, the art history and art theory side of things, this is if you didn't end up going to art school, plenty of information on this channel. There's also like, I don't know, I feel like the access to the internet just means that you have an access also to like what you should be reading, what you should be learning about. I don't know whether it's worth getting into debt to do a creative BA. This is just like a personal opinion.
I totally hear what you're saying, and I think you're really right in the sense that you can learn about art in a much more affordable way through the internet, through classes, stuff like that. I just bouncing off your point, something which I really benefited from at art school is the friends I made and the things that they taught me. And I was just thinking that's kind of in my head the one thing which it would be hard to replicate outside of art school is the community that you meet and the people who teach you things and the people who inspire you and stuff like that.
Definitely.
But that's not to say you can't find that in other places, because I'm sure you can. And I think what you're saying is incredibly valid, because I'm in loads of debt now because I did 4 years of art school and then did a teacher training in art design. So yeah, it's a struggle. And some people think that art school is like the easy option, or it's an option if you're not smart or if you don't want to work hard. And I couldn't agree less with this. Like, art school is really challenging in its own special way. And you have to be 100% committed to this, because imagine if you ended up in £30,000 of debt for a subject you weren't actually that interested in. Like, that would be the biggest flop. So
for sure,
you need to make sure that you're obsessed with art. A good quality to have if you're going to art school is you need to be hardworking and motivated and independent, because nobody's going to be on your case saying, get into the studio, make work, do research, learn this new thing, attend this workshop. The workshops are there, the studio's there, but you have to be independently motivated to go to those places and do those things. Sorry, my teacher voice is coming out now. The third thing is you need to be open-minded, because... And if you're closed-minded and you go, no, this is the kind of art I make, you aren't going to grow and you aren't going to change. And that would be a big shame. So I really encourage you to enter art school open-mindedly. I think it's really good if you are someone who can take criticism, because receiving criticism is part of art school. People will look at your art and they'll say, this thing's good, that thing's bad, change it. And you have to not take that personally.
Sometimes they won't even say this thing's good. They'll just go straight in with like, this is bad. This is bad and I hate this.
Yeah, so you need to be someone who doesn't take criticism too personally, or you need to learn not to take criticism too personally.
I think the second thing, because I don't think anyone is born like just like
robots.
Give me the critique, I can handle it. Like, it hurts, especially when it comes to making something. Like, you have made something, you're putting it out in the world, it feels vulnerable, and it's now going to get critiqued,
and your heart and soul's in it.
That is hard. And I think if you're not someone who takes critique well, know that you're gonna get critiqued, and you will hopefully develop a harder skin by the end of your degree.
People of all ages study at art school. You're never too old to go to art school. And secondly, disability is not a barrier to art school. Every university in the UK has a legal obligation to make adjustments to meet the needs of its disabled students. Every university also has something called a disability and access page, which you can find on their website, which outlines the kind of support that they offer to people of all different kinds of disabilities. Okay, we're going to talk about the big question on every anxious parent's mind now. Will you get a job after art school? Silva, what do you think?
Yeah, it's not a guarantee. It's definitely not a guarantee. it's not a guarantee that you're going to be able to pay your bills as an artist, that you're going to be able to like completely be self-sufficient, stable, especially graduating from art school. It's very unlikely that you're immediately going to be a self-employed freelance artist who's getting regular jobs and regular commissions. A lot of people that I know end up in admin roles within like art institutions and art museums. Some people have retrained into teaching. That's quite a common one. Others end up in other industries completely retraining. I myself I'd like to say that I've added to my training by continuing education post graduating art school.
What have you studied?
Horticulture and holistic counselling, both of which don't make me money either. But
we're getting there.
Yeah. It's not an easy ride post graduating, especially at the moment. Yeah, there's no guarantee.
The vast majority of people who study fine arts are not going to go on to be paid artists. And I think it's really funny because everyone hears that fact. And when you're studying, you're like, yeah, but I will be a paid artist. Yeah, sure. These guys, they're not going to make it, but I'm going to make it. I thought that.
Yeah, oh my God, 100%. Like, I think we all go in thinking that. Otherwise, like, why are we trying? Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I think we go in very naive thinking like, I'm going to do this. Like,
and as most of my regular viewers know, I am an art teacher and I've stopped teaching art now. I do something else. But that is the path I took. I have found some statistics on the internet which highlight just how bleak the situation really is for art students. This first set of statistics I found on a website called prospects.ac.uk, and it says that 65.8% of art graduates are employed, which is pretty poor, to be honest. But then if we look at what the people who are employed are doing, 25% of those people are in catering, customer service, and retail.
The classics.
17.7% are in the world of art, design, and media. 10% are in clerical, secretarial, and administrative roles. Yeah. 10% are in childcare, health, and education. Yeah. That's me. Yeah. And 36.3% are in other. Again, I don't know what other means. But I also found another article in the Telegraph, and this listed the degrees that are the worst value for money in 2023. And in that list is photography, fine art, film, and fashion. So almost all of the art school courses. So just bear that in mind. If you study fine art, it's a wonderful experience, but at the end of it, you might not have an easy time finding a job, and statistically, you are not likely to earn very much money. We have made a pros and cons list of art school. So I'm going to read the pros, you're going to read the cons. Cool. The pros of going to art school are: you will have an amazing time. It will be really, really fun. You will think back on these 3 years very fondly. You will also make amazing friends who will teach you so much about art and about life, and hopefully you'll keep those friends for the rest of your life. You will gain something called cultural capital, which basically means you know a lot of stuff about art and culture, and you can use that to flex when you're in a gallery or at a dinner party. You will learn various skills like woodwork, textiles, video editing. It's kind of up to you, but you learn a lot of skills, making based skills, which can be helpful in life depending on what you do next. You get access to really cool facilities, workshops, and resources. So for example, my art school had a wood workshop, a metal workshop, a ceramic studio, a print workshop, and it had like a technology cupboard, so you could rent out like cameras or projectors or various pieces of equipment which you could then mess around with. And you'll learn how to talk about art, how to defend your art, and how to talk about art in general, which is a skill and it takes a lot of practice, and you'll definitely get better at it the more time you spend at art school. So those are my pros.
I got some cons for you.
Take it away.
So, like we've mentioned a lot, there's no career insurance. There's no guarantee that you're actually going to be able to sustain yourself with this degree.
It's quite a big con, that.
It's a big con. So it's really one to think about when you're applying. It's really, really one to consider. The second big one is debt. You're going to be really, really in debt. Unless again, like I said, you've got parents who are willing to support you unless you look for alternatives, which is something that I personally did. I was not going to be able to afford paying the uni fees here. At the time when I was 18, my mum was also like kind of scared about the idea of like me being really in debt. So she was like, okay, let's look at other alternatives. The alternative was me going to the Netherlands. So that's also an option if you're a UK student. Yeah, look for alternatives if you don't want to go massively into debt. But basically, debt, big con. Whilst you're at art school, you're going to have to pay for all the materials yourself. So whatever project you think about making, it's going to be down to you to be able to afford the wood, the metal, the textiles,
the paint,
just all your materials, your paintbrushes, like every single thing that you want to use is going to be down to you to be able to afford.
Yeah.
That's really expensive.
Yeah.
Something to consider. Art schools are really oversubscribed. I think, well, even I feel like a few years ago, studio space is quite cramped. You don't have a lot of space.
Yeah.
I know that here, one-on-one tutor time is not really something that's accessible. I'm going to talk from my own experience. Fortunately, we did have space at our art school. I felt like our studio spaces were, they were enough. I didn't feel like I was overcrowded, and luckily did have plenty, if not too much, tutor time sometimes. But that is something to consider if you're going to a art school in the UK. It's very oversubscribed right now. Art schools prioritize getting fees off students, obviously, rather than like actually catering to an amazing art school experience for their students. So it might be worth doing some open days. Obviously, the schools are going to give you spiels about how amazing their schools are, but bear that in mind that these schools are going to be oversubscribed and the schools are going to be letting in loads of people. Yeah, something to consider in terms of space and quality of education.
I think that that's a really good point. And then it's also worth saying on top of that, because art schools are so oversubscribed, they are also really competitive. So you have to get in, which is a nightmare in itself. Just so you guys know, I do have a whole video series about how you can get into art school. So if you're thinking of applying, I would definitely watch those. I'm going to link one of them up here. And also, I do have a little kind of like side hustle where I help people to write their personal statements. So if that's something you're struggling with, you can send me a DM on Instagram and I'll give you a price and I'll let you know how it works, and we'll find a time and I can support you through the application process of getting into art school. So that's personal statements. We can talk about interview tactics and we can talk about putting together a portfolio. That's something I offer. If you're interested, make sure to follow me on Instagram. And
I just want to vouch for Tom's services, and I'm not just saying that because I'm your partner. Tom recently helped me with a residency application and writing an artist statement, and it was so helpful. As someone who's neurodiverse, has ADHD, Tom is very, very friendly and supportive with that as well. So yeah, I'm not just saying it. It was really helpful.
Cool.
Would vouch for you.
And I just want to say a big thank you to Silva for appearing on Art Theories. Once again, you're always very welcome on this platform.
Thanks, Boo.
And I will see you in the next video.